Established in 1927, the Chicopee Herald was for many years the newspaper of record for residents of that city. Its ownership changed hands several times before eventually falling under the Reminder Publications umbrella and ending its run in 2016 after 86 years. But stop the presses. That's not the end of the story. Recently, Reminder Publishing announced the return of the Chicopee Herald and with extended distribution. Managing editor G. Michael Dobbs sat down with Connecting Point's Tony Dunne to discuss what the relaunch of this heritage newspaper means for the community and the importance of local media.
The Chicopee Herald started in 1927 as a weekly newspaper. Various owners over the years had it. Chris and Dan Buendo, who were the owners of Reminder Publications, bought it in 1998. I came on board in '99 as the editor and primary writer for it. At that point, the Herald was serving Chicopee, Holyoke, and we had circulation into Granby and South Hadley. Over the years, with changes in the newspaper business, some changes happened with the Herald, and basically it was discontinued in, I believe it was 2016. We since came back with a newspaper distributed in Chicopee, but we realized that we really wanted to bring back a brand that was extremely familiar with several generations of folks who are living in the city. So that's what we did just a few weeks ago.
On the face of it, it seems kind of counterintuitive in this day and age of media consolidation to launch a new local paper, especially given online readership of newspapers and the decline of print journalism in many ways. Why make such a move in the face of all of that?
Okay, so in June of last year, we were purchased by the company that owns the Republican. We were set up as a separate independent company within their company. And we were given a charge, and that charge was, how can we better get news to people? So with our Agawam West Springfield edition last year, we started home delivery of homes in Agawam and West Springfield. So the way the business model works is if you subscribe to the Republican, that newspaper is inserted every Thursday into your Republican that day. If you don't subscribe, we home deliver you a copy. And what has happened is that there's been a huge response from advertisers who really like that concept. They like the idea of getting a local news package to people directly. We are home delivering in Chicopee. We're going to be dropping the paper in Springfield and Holyoke, but home delivery in Chicopee. And again, we're getting a very good response from advertisers. Our advertising base is almost 100% local, and they like that idea. So right now we have 3 weekly editions, all of which have home delivery in Hampden County. And I know it sounds counterintuitive, however, people really still want local news. They still really want local content. They want to know what's happening in their community. And more, I don't think you're seeing that on a lot of social media. You're seeing a lot of other stuff, but not necessarily someone who is writing about local events in a professional manner. You know, and I know that, 10, 15 years ago, everyone predicted the rise of citizen journalism, that you don't have to be a trained journalist, you just got to be a person with a recorder or a notebook and go to events and then blog about it. And that's fine. But the bottom line is that how do you make money on that? How do you monetize that kind of content? And that is the reason we're doing what we're doing is because it's a business model that seems to appeal to both readers and advertisers.
To your point, that's fine that people can blog, can publish online. Is that fine? Is it okay for people without a journalistic background to be presenting themselves in a journalistic fashion, and for those who aren't in the know, who don't know any better, may take somebody as a journalist with no journalistic training whatsoever? Isn't that a concern?
I think it can be a concern. I'm not a snob about this stuff. My feeling is there are a lot of talented people out there who have got a point of view, and certainly digital publication is the way for them to get their point of view out. I certainly read blogs, and there are people who really do a fantastic job. The problem today is it's just not having a blogger who understands how to do things the right way. It's about a reader who is going to read something from a critical point of view and say, does this piece actually satisfy my need to know what's going on in it? You know, is it simply an opinion piece? Is it actually a news piece? So I think people who are the consumers for digital content have got to be thinking about that as well.
In terms of local journalism, you tend to do what is referred to as hyper-local journalism. As a matter of fact, when you look on the Reminder's website, hometown news is one of the phrases that I saw. Right. What is the differentiation? And there is a differentiation, I think, between your local larger newspaper and what you do, and what you're looking to do with the Chicopee Herald, and be very specific and germane to a certain area.
So prior to my coming to the studio this morning, I'm writing a city council piece in Chicopee about what the city council allocated money for and why they allocated that money. Chicopee is a community that is a very bottom line community. Chicopee residents want to know how their how their tax money is being spent. So when you talk about hyper-local, people may say, well, really, who cares that they spent $48,000 on a new pickup truck for the emergency management department? Well, people do care. So we're going into the school committee meetings and going into city councils and going into schools and talking about those issues because, you know, Tony, the issues that affect us the most are the local issues. Your garbage getting picked up okay? Is your snow being plowed in front of your house all right? Are the schools good for your kids? National issues are, of course, incredibly important, but the local issues are the things that affect you the first and sometimes the most significantly.
Chicopee is a city of about, I believe it's 55,000 people roughly.
Correct.
What do you think is the benchmark for a community in terms of population to have a paper of their own, or a community to have a paper of its own? Is there some sort of a metric where, you know, an area or a region should have a local or a hyper-local news outlet of any kind?
Well, you know, that's a good question. You go out in more rural America and you'll find that there are thriving little teeny tiny papers. As long as they have the money to print them, and as long as they have the money to pay someone to do them, it serves a purpose. We are doing something that is pretty unusual, though, for a free newspaper. Usually you do not deliver a free newspaper to a city of 55,000 people. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of effort. Smaller communities usually have home delivery because it's actually physically and logistically more manageable. So in terms of a free paper, certainly, you know, it all depends on the community and how they support it. In terms of a free delivered newspaper to a city of 55,000, well, you know, knock wood, things are going to go okay, because it is a bit of a challenge.
You joined the staff of Reminder Publications in 1999, I believe, as
Yes.
Editor of the Chicopee Herald.
Yep.
Is this coming full circle for you?
Well, no matter what I've done with the paper for the last 19 years, my primary writing beats have been City of Springfield, City of Chicopee, and Holyoke. And so it's not exactly coming full circle, although there's a sort of nice nostalgic feel about this. That I started with the Chicopee Herald, and whenever they kick me out, that there'll still be a Chicopee Herald. So there's a nice yin and yang to it.